I'm Will Carr, and I'm here to fire you up. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Will Carr Speaks podcast. I'm super excited to have a good friend and a really fun guest today, Kristin Sokoloff, who is a woman of many verticals, but I will just say a former 20-year investment banker who left that world in order to homeschool her children and fight for our First Amendment rights, among other things. So excited to have you on the show today, Kristin.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. It was awesome meeting you. I knew right away when we met at AmFest, I'm like, we have to partner on something.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to be lifelong friends.
I know. Sometimes you just know.
It's true. And I think that's the best way, and that's why we go to shows and events
Yes.
like AmFest, is because you go there, you meet other very high quality people that are like-minded. And when you want to make friends and network and meet other cool people, you go to events where those people are going to show up.
Exactly. And, I get a hard time for, like, my mom even. She'll be like, what speakers did you listen to? I'm like, I never listen to speakers, like, ever. And, it's because I'm there to network and build these relationships. I'm not there to go sit in the audience with everyone else, right? So I think it's really important that people understand. It's not that I'm, it's fun. It's like I'm talking to my mom here. It's not that I'm better than anyone else. It's that, like, I'm there for a certain purpose, right? And we all have to understand that about ourselves.
Yeah. No, I find that too. I mean, and I think that's what great at shows like that. You can go and, and I think some people, they go for that.
Yeah.
It depends on what you want. Like if you're going there to listen to, the Tucker Carlsons and, the other great speakers that were there, that's wonderful, and you get to go. And I was at the show with my dad. And of course, that's why he went, he wanted to listen to everybody.
Yeah.
So he was there, in the front, taking notes, like,
That's like my dear friend who operates as my assistant at these events. She literally, like your dad, brings a notepad and takes notes.
Yeah.
She does that and I do not.
Yeah. And different personalities. Cause I'm like you, I go there and I just want to walk around and who all can I meet? Who can I talk to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely the best part. Strategic, right? Well, we're being strategic.
Yep. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, first I just want to dive into, you left the corporate world in order to homeschool your kids. Tell me about that and why you made that choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so, growing up, I just felt like that was the only way, right? Like my mom worked, she was a Nordstrom buyer for 30 plus years. And that's all that had been modeled in my household, was that you work, right? And you work your way up the corporate ladder. And so that was my mission, right? I wanted to be the youngest bank executive at the bank. But this truly is, a lot of people say this, in 2020, it was like so many things surfaced. And I will say my husband is a Portland police officer. He was NYPD. This is cool, Will. I don't tell this very often. He's a New Yorker. He's from Long Island. He was NYPD when I met him. I was just on vacation in New York City with one of my dear friends. We were walking through a crosswalk in Times Square, and he was a rookie. He'd only been on 2 years, and they make you wear those, I think it's a 5-point hat. You only wear those if you're a rookie on the NYPD. So anyways, this rookie says, "Well, you got your umbrella open. It's not even raining out here." Because it had started sprinkling and I didn't want my hair to get frizzy. And so I stopped and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm from the Northwest too. We generally don't even use umbrellas. So the rest is history. We got engaged 5 months later.
Wow.
Got married a year after that. And then I moved to New York City for a while and then eventually convinced him to come back to where I'm from. So he's Portland police, has been now for 18 years. And the wild thing is, in 2020, he's super solid. And so he's my rock. He really is. And as much as I'm solid, he's that much more. And when I saw him coming home from 124 consecutive days of rioting and just being beat down, something ignited inside of me. And I almost felt like I was like lifted off my feet. I'm not even kidding. I was so angry. It was like an out-of-body experience.
Right.
And, they say mama bear, this wifey bear came out of me.
Yeah.
And I started speaking out. Now, I'm a bank leader at the time, right? And I was in charge of a division at the bank, so I couldn't speak out using my name. I did put my face out there because that's our First Amendment right, and it was done after business hours, but I was using an alias. And so I did that, Will, for like 2 years. I spoke out using my alias after business hours, yada, yada. And it definitely posed issue with HR. I got called a few times because people were seeing, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so it's
Yeah.
extremely liberal. So people were like turning me into corporate, saying, "You have a bank leader who's speaking out." And then all I would say is, "I'm using my First Amendment rights. Are we done here?"
Yeah.
Right? And so that was really an
Oh my
unusual
gosh, we have
experience.
someone that thinks for themselves at the bank?
I know, right? Like this was very like
How dare they?
my boss did not know what to do with herself and did not know what to do with me, quite frankly. And I was never in trouble before. I always just like fell in line, did my job, right? So this was unusual. No one really saw this coming, including myself. But that I just knew there was no going back. So, yeah, that's the story of it. Everything just kind of fell into place. I unenrolled my kids from government school, started homeschooling on my own. We do classical conversations now. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's basically like a Christian conservative homeschool program where you meet once a week and then the rest you do at home. But it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. No, there's a few things I'd like to dive into there, but as far as, yeah, just pulling your kids from public school. Obviously that's one thing that we connected on is this
Yeah,
idea of homeschooling and really just giving our kids a type of education that's actually meaningful, like something
right,
that matters versus them being stuck in these classrooms, sitting at desks all day, learning things that are completely irrelevant to
right.
what the world is going to be. And I think, and 10 years ago, even, I think that was important. But where we're at now and the way the
Yeah,
world's evolving with things like AI and robotics
yeah,
and just the standard education system is not serving the kids to set them up for success. That's for sure.
yeah. You're right. It's definitely not. And I don't know if you get flack when, we're bringing our kids out in public when most kids are in school, right? So then I have people go, "Oh," like I swear that when my daughter had braces, the orthodontist was like grilling her every time. How much school do you do at home? One, it's none of her business.
Right.
But it's like people can't wrap their minds around the freedom that these kids have because 90% of the school day in government school is corralling cats, right? And you're just getting the outliers to focus. And by the time you do that, you have the high engaged kids disengaging. So yeah, it's a wild ride. It's not easy, as you know, but it's an incredible experience all around.
Well, and just think of the idea of having to ask for permission to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Like, what type of mindset is that you don't even have the sovereignty over yourself to go to the bathroom
Yeah.
when you need to go? Like, it
Yeah.
seems like such a small thing, but it's really not. It's how that's training you
Yes.
to think, are you sovereign over yourself and your own body and your own choices?
Right. Right. And I'm so glad you bring that up because my son, who's almost 12, I had him in daycare twice a week when I was working. And luckily, police officers, my husband had 3 days off during the week. So we only had to do it twice a week. But it was like that, that pit in your gut every time I dropped him off. I just was like, I hate this. It feels wrong. But what are my options? Right. And my son told me that, and he still talks about it, and he's almost 12. So he was like 4, that they wouldn't let him go to the bathroom more than like once or twice and they thought he was faking it because he was going so often because he's a frequent peer, what can I say? But it's like he still, I'm not even bluffing, still brings up the fact they told me no, I couldn't go to the bathroom. Like it scarred him seriously. So that's a bigger situation than what people think.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just not natural. We live in a society now where it's normal, so people don't question it, but
Yeah.
it's not natural for our kids to be away from us for
Yeah.
7 hours a day, 5 days a week.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Starting at the age of 5? Are
I
you
know.
kidding? and
It's like it's
earlier.
intentional, right? Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's drive this wedge. Let's separate them from family." I don't know about you. I went to public school growing up, or
Yep.
government
Same.
school, as I like to call it. I came home exhausted. The last thing I wanted to do was engage with my family. I wanted to be left alone because I
Yeah.
had just been socially overstimulated for 7 hours, right?
Mhm.
And so you're exhausted. And I was, a gymnast, so 5 days a week I was going off to sports right after being at school. I didn't get a lot of family time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's intentional the more and more I look into it.
I agree. Well, tell me a little bit about, so I mean, your husband being a police officer in Portland. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just, and we see the stuff on the news and stuff that you share. It's like that's got to be tough for him to be, because I'm assuming he's more conservative like yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
most
don't
of them are. Most of the Portland police officers are conservative, believe it or
Okay,
not.
well, and that's
Yeah,
that's good to understand in here
yeah.
too, because it seems like they've really had their hands tied.
Well, that's exactly it. And that's what's so sick, right? Is that, like, even during the riots in 2020, I bring those up a lot because that was an extremely pivotal moment. They were told to stand down. Can you imagine, like, you train your whole life, like, this was like my husband's calling, and he's told to stand down and take the abuse? Like, literally, let them scream at you in your faces. At one point, they had them backing up the road, right? And while the rioters went towards them, that was what they were ordered to do. It's been a very interesting switch that I've seen, because the policing, what that does is the policing goes from a proactive policing to a reactive policing. And that's because, why would I put my neck on the line for a department that doesn't support me, and a city hall, and not the governor per se, but the mayor. The mayor is the police commissioner in Portland, which is a weird structure. But they can't wait to make an example out of a police officer. Like, it's sick. It's true. And so why would they put their neck on the line any more than they have to? So then
No, I
crime
mean,
goes up, right?
yeah. Yeah, and you wouldn't if you feel like the people that are in charge of you are just going to try to make an example and get you in trouble, and that's what they're looking to do to
Right.
make headlines themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna take chances. And then yeah, and then crime goes up, and we see that in a lot of these blue cities. I see that here in Denver.
Yeah.
And I don't live in Denver, thankfully,
Yeah.
but here in Colorado, I mean, and Colorado's such a great state. I'm sure you feel this way about Oregon. It's like
Yes.
it's I can't imagine being anywhere else. I love living here, and you get outside the city and it's a lot different than
Yes.
where it is in the city, but at the same time, the city politics seem to control the whole
I
state.
know. I know. It's infuriating. And you probably get this too. Every day, someone's like, "Why haven't you moved?" And I feel like, you want me to flee my territory? Like, you want me to put my tail between my legs and flee? How about you have respect for me for staying and fighting a massive uphill battle behind enemy lines? Like, how about there's some respect be in that situation? And a lot of people are. They're standing and fighting for our territory, and we're not going to flee. Eventually, there's not going to be anywhere to go. And Oregon and Colorado are incredibly beautiful states, rich in everything you can imagine. And I'm not going to move to an armpit state just because they're politically aligned with me.
Right. No, and it's yeah, not to throw shade at, a state like Oklahoma. I have
I was
lots of
just going to say Oklahoma.
I have lots of friends there, and I love going and
I do.
visiting,
Oh my gosh.
and
Yeah.
and hanging out with my friends there, but it's like, no, I could never live there when I'm used to living in the
No.
beautiful Rocky Mountains where
Yes.
I ski 30 days a year and
Yes.
go on hikes all the
I
time, and
know. I
I have
know.
my choice of hot springs to drive to within a couple hours,
Sounds like
like
Oregon, actually. Yeah, it's very, I mean, same. I go to my mailbox in Mount Hood. I live like at the base of Mount Hood. Mount Hood's like right there, and it's beautiful. And every single time I see it, I'm in awe. And so I just think, man, like, I just can't give this up, right? It's beautiful. You get to see God's creation right there every day. So it's worth fighting for.
absolutely. And that's how I feel about nature. I mean, tell me if you feel the same, but for me, it's God's original church.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's source creation right there. Like
Yeah.
the you get out in the trees and in the mountains and in the forest and by a lake or by a river,
Huh?
and you are immersed in the energy of God's creation
Absolutely. I mean,
to
there's
feed your
science that
soul.
backs it. People that aren't even believers, they will admit there is science that backs all of these responses that the body has, may it be around water, literally tree hugging. Like I
Yeah.
do hug trees sometimes because they're, if people look into it, it's like
Yeah.
tree hugger, woo. But there is something that happens, this energy and this transfer when you hug a tree that's so great for you. So I am right there with you.
Yeah. And I find it interesting that the love for nature has been twisted into like into a political thing.
Mm,
Like it's sad to see because obviously you and I, conservative individuals, both extremely love nature. I
yeah,
want to take care of nature more than anything.
right.
But that doesn't mean I buy into the propaganda of the environmental things that are nothing more than propaganda and
Right. Yeah.
fake science, really. I mean, to try to convince us to follow some ideology.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. We can actually see it. And anyone that's read the Bible or looked into it, my thing is when we talk about, Ice Age or any of this stuff, like this happens. Weather changes happen. It's cyclical. It's gonna happen eventually again, right? And so to blame it on humans, yeah, there's some nasty stuff that happens, especially what China, India dumping crap into our oceans. Like, I'm not cool with that, right? Like, a little hippie
Yeah,
comes out of me when that stuff
totally.
comes up. But it's like we're going to make everything electric by 2030 and we don't even have a grid that supports what's currently happening. Like it's just nonsensical and I can't get behind it.
Totally. It's like there's very common sense things around. I mean, there's very common sense things around taking care of our environment. But then there's things where, I mean, we look at the electric industry and I think, batteries and certain things can definitely be beneficial, but the
Yeah.
mining of that is required to create those batteries is just, it is not more environmentally friendly than just extracting the oil that we have in the ground.
Right. I know. Try to explain. I tell my son, like, because he talks about he loves the Cybertruck, thinks it looks really cool. And I'm like, yeah, they have to rape the land to
Yeah.
make those, right? And he's like, what is land raping? I'm like, oh, shoot. How do I explain this one? I'm a very transparent mother, but
Yeah.
not quite that. So I'm like,
Oh,
okay, let me
man.
back that
Let me
up
use
and
different let me
rephrase.
I
I
should've used a
know,
different
I
word.
know. Yeah, yeah. Because they remember what you say and but yeah, I mean, seriously, but people, they get so, well, you see it there and I see it here. It's like it is cultish. It's a cult mentality and it's sad. And when we recorded earlier, I heard you and Ron talking, like we both have liberal friends. I mean, naturally, look where we live, unless we're like total jerks, we can't
Yeah.
ostracize ourselves from the majority of who lives around us, right? And I have liberal friends, and this stuff didn't really matter until 2020. You saw a clear division there, right? And a realignment. But that said, a lot of they truly feel that they're doing
Mhm.
something good. That right there, I don't think a lot of them are. They're just like captured, mentally captured, in feeling that what they're doing is bigger than them, not realizing that they've been
Totally.
manipulated.
And I think, and that brings me to the biggest thing, and, like, one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is just we have to get back to this because, I mean, look at what's already happening in 2026. Obviously, it didn't just start this year,
Yeah.
but the the division that we see amongst people, it's like I have friends and people that I love and that I know are good people that have different political opinions than me or think
Yeah.
differently than me. And this division of if you think one way, you're a horrible person. Think if you think this way, you're a crazy Nazi fascist or you're a, you're a
Yeah.
whatever. Because I think for the most part, and there are definitely the extreme examples. They exist.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes it easy to categorize everybody that, leans left or everybody that leans right into those extreme examples. Where in
Right, right.
reality, the there's the 99% of us in the world that really just, we want good for humanity. We want good for the world.
Yes.
And when we stop realizing that, I mean, that's how I mean, literally people die, and
Yeah.
it's much easier to be okay with someone dying if you think they're evil. And
Right.
and to me,
Exactly.
I mean, that's where it comes down to, and they are trying to convince us that people are actually bad in order to make it
Mhm.
okay in our mind that not good things happen,
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's Charlie Kirk is the perfect
right?
example of that, right? So it's very true. And I do see that I'm definitely on the right. I see that on the right as well. And I'm guilty of really kind of just whatever with things because we see so much, especially people like me who I'm posting
Yeah,
news every
multiple times a
single
day.
day. I'm posting. I mean, yeah, like at least 10, right, to keep the algorithm flowing. So, yeah, so I'm entrenched in the negative things that are happening. And it does become just second nature. You see it and you just shrug your shoulders, post it, move on, right? And that's not necessarily healthy. My mom recently was like, I wish you'd post more positive things. I'm like, yeah, you sound like the typical woman. I get so many female followers. Why don't you post more positive things? I'm like, well, don't you want to know what's
Yeah,
happening, right? Like, I get there needs to be a balance. So, anyways, that's a very female thing. That's yeah, it's an idea of this brainwashing that happens, and it's all by
definitely.
design.
Because there is this balance, like you said, between sharing things that are real and actually
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
But then also, what do we
exactly.
wanna feed our mind, and how do we wanna, like, have this positive outlook on humanity? Because when we do
I
see so
know.
much negative, it's easy to demonize the other side. And until we get to this
Right.
point of compassion and forgiveness, like because what I see happening all the time, it's like, let's use what's going on in Minneapolis right now as an example.
Mhm.
Like the Minneapolis people are preventing ICE from doing their job. So ICE gets a little more extreme in their tactics of how they're enforcing the law. So
Right.
the people protesting in Minneapolis feel like that crossed the line. So then they go a little further and break into and interrupt a church service. And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
because of that happening, then ICE feels like they can take it up to this level and
Huh?
because they're on high alert and a situation arises, someone actually dies. And then because someone actually
Mhm.
dies, the Minneapolis rioters feel like they can go. And so I can keep going up. But the idea is
Yeah.
that it's this stair step of how no one is de-escalating. And
Right,
every
right.
time it goes a little further, everybody takes it up a notch. And the only way to get past that, in my opinion, is forgiveness and understanding that no one's perfect
Yeah.
and that we've made mistakes and that people are trying to do the right thing. You can't hold grudges in your heart. We have to
Right.
de-escalate and really just finding that through Christ is my personal opinion. I mean, it comes back to our faith. I mean, the only thing
Right.
that can save us at this point really is a solid foundation in faith and understanding
Right.
that we are all human and we need to come back to this point. And that's what's interesting is because what I'm about to say sounds like super hippie, but it's like we come back to the point of love. Like we have to love each other,
Yes.
even love those and because I was listening to someone the other day, and in the Bible, obviously some of the, a real famous thing that Jesus said was above all else, if you can follow this commandment, you've got it figured out. I'm paraphrasing, but is that love God with all your heart and love your neighbor. And
Mhm.
and in the original Arabic, neighbor actually can be very translated as not just your neighbor, but as someone that
Yeah.
disagrees with you and someone that doesn't see eye to
Mm.
eye with you. So it doesn't
I
mean
love
just
that.
love your neighbor that thinks like you.
Yeah.
It's love the
Yeah.
people who have opposing opinions as you and see the world
Yes.
in a different way. And until we can
Yes.
have that type of compassion with each other, unfortunately, I think it's just going to continue to escalate.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that
yeah.
message is strong. I have to tell you, so I went to SAS
Okay.
in Tampa, a Turning Point event. So that was back in July. And I have a big heart for just people in general. I don't care what walk of life they come from. I just genuinely love people. You look at my page, you might not think that, but I do. And I find people just really interesting. So I notice we're at this. It's an after party at a bar, right? So it's not only Turning Point, it's like everybody. There's a trans so what is it? If they're a boy becoming a trans woman, and I look over and I'm like, he looks really uncomfortable, like he's wearing like he just maybe came out of the closet or something, right? And his body language was uncomfortable. He had his arms kind of crossed, like in a protective arm crossing stance. And my heart literally just went out to him. I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to him. And my assistant is this. She's such a loving lady. And so she came with me. We had like a 25-minute conversation. He opened up about where he came from and how he just moved to Florida, hoping he would be more accepted, and how his entire upbringing he felt like rejected by people. And it was this whole beautiful conversation and so friendly and so loving. And then he was saying, I know there's a lot of conservatives here, meaning like Florida, because that's where he had moved to, but I really hope I'm welcomed. I go, how would you feel to know that I'm a conservative influencer? And we were just talking as no way. And like gave us big hugs. And it was like, we should be able to have those conversations that come from a place of love and compassion. That doesn't mean I have to endorse
Right.
his lifestyle, but it just means like I care for someone as a human being. And what really made me want to walk over to him is how uncomfortable I saw that he was in his own skin. And that just makes me really sad. I was just kind of blessed with this confidence from like a very young age. And so I never really felt that. And so I never want people to feel that way. And so I always try to do something to uplift. But man, that will stay with me forever, because it's like a lot of my peers wouldn't do that. And I think that's where we need to be the leader. And I could see that in you too. Actually, I could see you doing that, Will. But like those types of conversations, those mean a lot to people. And it was a growth period for me too, or growth
Yeah.
moment.
Well, and I think, and that's, tying it back into our faith and understanding the
Mm-hmm.
example that we're meant to follow, through Christ was, I mean, if Jesus was here in this day, like that is what he would do. Like
Yeah.
it's not to judge. It's not our role to judge, to have discernment and stand for our values and know what we believe in, of course.
Right.
But it's to love everyone around us and to understand that
Right.
we're all children of God, regardless of
Exactly.
what your political beliefs are, or, what you think about certain policy.
Right.
And until we as a society, I have this new thing that I want to spread. It's the new F word. We need to, we need to F everyone, F you, F everyone, but it's forgive. Like that's the one.
I love it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We need to shift it.
I love
It's
it.
like,
Yeah.
it rather than holding on to any of this animosity, because that story that you just shared, like that's what can stop this downward trajectory that we're on. I mean, that's what can
Yeah.
stop the violence. That's what can stop the confusion. And because I
Yeah.
think that's what most of this comes down to, is that people are confused. And it's my personal opinion that obviously we're more conservative people, but
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to politics, for the most part, if you look at like the way our politicians actually vote and what they do, and lots of times it's the lack of what they do,
Right.
the majority of our people in the government, it doesn't matter whether they have an R or a D next to their name. They don't work for us. They work for the lobby, and they work
True.
for the puppet masters behind the scenes that you don't even know what their names
Right.
or faces look like. Yeah.
That's spot on. I mean, a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize that. It's not how it should be, but
No.
that is how it is.
And you're given this illusion of choice. And I think that's why like a lot of young people even, every year I vote, but every year I say I'm not going to until it comes down to it. And the reason I feel that way is because it feels like, and whether elections are fair or not is a whole other conversation. But it feels like no matter who I vote for, they might say that they stand for certain things or have certain values.
Yeah.
They're all going to do the same thing. And so it's like an illusion that we
Right.
have some type of choice.
Yeah. We're voting for the lesser evil at this point.
And what does that even mean? Because if it's really all
Yeah.
being spearheaded by one group of people that control both sides at the end of the day, we're really not voting for a lesser evil. We're voting for a system that is just deeply corrupted.
Yeah. No, that's deep.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
deep,
No.
Will. I know. I'm trying to get people to the ballot box in Oregon
No. And I think,
in our 2026 gubernatorial race. But no, I completely see where you're
and
coming
I think
from.
it definitely matters. Like we need to go out and vote for what we feel is the right direction, what we feel is the right thing. But I also think that it really starts at, I'll put it this way. We need to not put our faith and hope in voting for anyone. There's
Right.
what we
Yeah.
have to put our faith and hope in um, is more at the level of humanity itself. Because if
Mm. Yeah.
humanity itself can get to the point where we have love and compassion for each other versus hating each other,
Right.
then actual change can take place versus, well, if I vote for this person, they're going to make all the change. And I think, and I
Mhm.
even think we can see that through, the current administration and certain things where, you know, I very much have things that I still want to see, but you talk about things like, why haven't the Epstein files been released?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. But you're not one of those people that writes, like, Jesus Christ on
No.
the ballot, right? Because those people really piss me off, to be honest. I've watched an audit of
Okay.
an election because I was the campaign manager for a Washington state senator, and we lost by 1,200 votes, and so we did a campaign audit, and I've watched the audits, and I'm like, "What in the world?" People will literally write them in for whatever role. Jesus Christ, and I'm like, "I wanna come through the ballot at you right now." Like, it's so
No,
maddening. So they earned those tax increases that they got right away.
definitely.
They earned them by being
Yeah.
stupid. But anyways, but yeah, no, I mean, yes, like ultimately, God is in control. We should all be voting for policy, not man, right? Like in regards to policy aligns with us the most. They are man, they are sinners, and we just have to be aware of that. So obviously, God ultimately is in control, but what we face here, I don't know about what it looked like in Colorado, but here in Oregon, the 2022 gubernatorial race. I was very involved in that. And we lost by 4 points, like 4 points. And it was, we had 230,000 rural registered Republican voters that did not show up to vote. And all you have to do in Oregon is
Right.
mail in your ballot. I think
Yeah, that's the
Colorado is
same
the
in
same,
Colorado.
right? Like you don't even have to go anywhere. You don't have to go out of your house. It's like ultimate, like, I'm not a fan of it, but I'm just saying how easy it is. It's so easy to vote. 230,000 rural Republican
Yeah.
registered voters did not vote. That would have made the difference and then some. So I'm just get the apathy really gets us, and it's irritating when you watch an audit
Yeah.
before your
I mean,
ex.
that's the same in Colorado. I mean, I think we had nearly 20 to 25% of the registered Republicans not vote in the last election.
It's very
Yeah.
frustrating, especially when you work on a
Right.
campaign.
Yeah. And I'm sure, and working on a campaign from people that I know that do it that's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, I have PTSD. I'll never be a campaign manager again. I mean, I never say never, but
Right.
probably
Yeah.
never.
Unless you really felt called to it.
So yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I mean, going into this year, obviously it's a big year. We have midterms. There's a lot happening. Our government might shut down in a couple days. Like, what do you see as being some of the big issues that we may face? How do you see this year playing out prior to midterms?
My goodness. Well, I would say the transparency needs to increase, especially from, Trump is leading, right? Like, even though we have all these state, county, city elections, that they really are dictated by what we see at the federal level. And so it's incredibly important that Trump continue with his transparency that was promised. So the Epstein files is one huge thing that he lost a lot of voters on. What that does is that disengages people all the way down to the county city level. It really does. And so we need to see a correction there. I think that I just want to touch on this. I think it's really important. I see a lot of conservative influencers that are saying, or political commentary like what I do, they're saying, oh, we need to send in the National Guard, to Minneapolis or Minnesota or wherever else. I guess they're bringing them into Arizona right now. And when I say there, it's these are funded. Literally, these agitators are
Yeah.
funded, well funded. So they're shipping them into different places to cause this chaos, right? And it is an election year, so we need to understand that they are doing this intentionally to throw the midterms. So we need to make sure we stay laser focused and see past all the nonsense and remain engaged, and not just say, oh, we don't have a shot in hell, and so put your feet up on the desk and disengage. We are seeing a bit of that right now because of all the chaos. So I just think people need to understand that, if I could just zoom out, like when we have a federal election, a lot of people focus on that, but they don't focus on what's happening in their own backyard. So I implore people to get involved at your county, city level and see what you can do, because you can feel very helpless if you're just focused on what's going on at the federal
Definitely.
level.
And I think that's where actual change can be made is at the local level, where
Yes.
you
Yes.
can actually have some say in what goes on. And I think that
Yeah.
can feel, somewhat disheartening too. Like I'll go back to the public school example, but it's like, where I'm at, we have one school board for the county. And so when I grew up, every school had their own school board. So
Mm.
every school could make decisions for their own school
Wow.
versus, here in Jefferson County, Colorado, we have one school board who, and I'm not even going to get into the slew of controversy and things that they've had with different, even things. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into it, but
I'm like,
it's been
I
bad.
know it
Yeah, I mean,
well here in
everyone's heard
Oregon.
of Jefferson County. Yeah, I mean,
Insane.
we're all over, the libs of TikTok and everything. Like we get
Yeah.
talked about all the time.
Yeah.
But when we have this bureaucracy in the school system, of course we can't make any choices. And so, when like I said, I homeschool my daughter now, but her kindergarten and first grade, I did send her to the local public school. And it was during the whole COVID thing. So I went and got a
Yeah.
medical mask exemption for her. And our county
Mm.
ordinance said if someone has a medical exemption, they don't have to wear a mask. So I got one for myself as well. And,
Nice.
I would go out places, I would never wear one. And it would very much upset people. And even at the school level, they did everything they could to keep me out of my daughter's own concert. They did everything they could to, try to not let me come and be they call it a watchdog at the public school where dads
Mm.
can come in and,
Okay.
dads of good students, I think is what the dogs was supposed to stand for.
Wow.
And they did everything they could to prevent me from being able to. And I would go to the school board and I would talk to them at the public meetings and they won't even look at you. It's like they don't care.
Yeah.
They really
I
don't.
know.
They really don't. And it's sad. And I think it was that realization that made me realize like
Yeah.
what am I even doing having my daughter in this system that's
Yes.
clearly doesn't respect me, doesn't respect her. Um and
Yes.
and that was one thing
I mean,
I would
that is very
yeah.
common, Will.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
it's great. I would, and I would think about that. I'd be like, of all the kids in the school, at least the other kids got to see my daughter's face because there was no other
Mhm.
faces that they got to see. It was her. Like
Wow.
she
Yeah.
was the child that, and there were a few other kids at the school too, but it was, maybe half a dozen that
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
entire
They
few
definitely.
hundred kids that whose parents went to the
Yeah.
level of doing that. And it's like, but yeah, I mean, to not see faces, to not get to learn facial
It's messed
expressions
up.
at that young of an age, like their
Yeah.
development in that regard is hindered.
Absolutely. And that's why, like, there's even studies about women or young mothers who get Botox when they have children who are learning. They're learning from their facial expressions. And, like, when you get Botox and you're dumbing down, like, the ability to wrinkle your forehead or, like, anything, um, children they don't have that same level of empathy understanding, and so then that continues on. So, like, this is a real thing, the inability to see someone's face, especially in those elementary years. That is like a huge stamp or imprint on your life. And the same thing happened for me. We are like Colorado, where we just have the one school district for, like, it's not we have one board for the entire school district, and it's a huge
Yeah.
school district. And so I remember emailing, because I was going back and forth on the mask thing. I had my son's doctor. My son has asthma. His doctor would not give him a mask exemption. And so, which real, I actually have not
Yeah.
brought him back
I don't blame
since
you.
to him. But because I'm like, oh, you're his doctor and you want him to breathe through this tiny little thing while he already struggles. So, anyways, long story short, I was writing back and forth with the district, and they basically said, after like some correspondence, they said, parents like you should really seek out private school or homeschooling. Literally, they were basically telling me, like, this is not a good fit for you, which I knew that, but that was what I needed to hear. and I unenrolled them like right after that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I can't believe I just did that. But yeah, when you have the school district, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. They're not
Yeah,
gonna
very
work with
similar.
me.
And my initial back and forth before I got the actual, MD to sign off, they said, you should consider sending your daughter to the school in the neighboring county. That was literally,
Wow. They just
yeah.
went there.
They're like, you
Yeah.
should just consider that. We
That's
just want you out
insane.
of here. Like,
My goodness. Yeah, that was pretty much me too. I was a pain in their butt. They wanted me gone. But it was the kick in the pants I needed to realize I am not going to win this battle. Doing the current path I was taking, I wasn't going to win. So I had to pull them out.
exactly. Take a different route. And ultimately,
Yep.
it's been the greatest thing. The lifestyle that we have through homeschool is, if we
Yes.
had any snow in Colorado this year, my daughter would get 30 days skiing.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know you guys were not
Yeah,
getting a
it's
lot of
been a
snow.
really rough year. I mean, I think it's gonna pick
Really?
up, but yeah, it's been the least snow of probably any season I've ever experienced.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you'd think these electric vehicles would be
Yeah,
helping,
come
right?
on. I mean, it's supposed to be turning this around.
My goodness. Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. No. Well, I don't know. Mount Hood's being dumped on right now. We call it naked when it's,
Yeah.
all melted. Now she's fully clothed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well, to wrap
interesting.
up, I just want to ask you, like, what other than getting out to vote and voting on the policies
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you care about and you think matter, what do you feel like is the biggest hope for this year, and how we can see, the United States to go in a positive direction?
Oh, it's a
I
big
know.
question. Well,
Should have prepped you for that one.
I would say, yeah, no, it's just like, I just feel like if I had like words of
Yeah.
wisdom for people, I still have, what are we, 6 years into this, 5 years into this since 2020. And I really feel like people need to choose how they spend their
Mhm.
energy. And I say that by like, be informed. Don't be an ignoramus who has their head in the sand. I know people that brag about, I don't watch the news. I have no idea what's going on. Like
Yep.
I don't
Me
think that's
either.
cool. I think that's like
Yep.
stupid actually, right? Like you're not getting cool points with me. You're
Yeah.
getting stupid points. So, but be informed, be aware, but be able to separate yourself. Like if we could have just some more emotional control. I don't know if I'm speaking more to women than men in this, but, like, let's not get so worked up and emotional. Let's be more strategic with this. Okay, this really frustrates you. And this has been my whole shtick, Will. Turn your anger into action. And for the majority of people, and for me, yes, it was speaking out, but that's not for most people. So what you should do is, how can I get involved? Okay, look, like we said earlier, look at your county races. If you don't have money to donate to them, volunteer, do some literature drops. Like when you start putting your energy into what is angering you, it is so healthy. You don't need to go see your
Yeah.
psychologist if you do this. Like, right? Like actually like burn that negative energy off by doing
Mhm.
something and take action. If you're frustrated by something, quit complaining about it and do
Yeah.
something about it. Right. Like, and well, I still see that. I have friends, female friends that get really worked up and say, can you believe this? And I'm 4 years past
Yeah.
that mentality. Like, I just like laugh at the absurdity because I'm already doing things that are helping with the
Mhm.
trajectory, as little as they may be. So that would be my main thing. And then the other thing, well, this is so important, and I have to tell my husband this also. Don't pick fights with your family
Yeah.
over politics. Luckily, this is like they should do a case study on my family. I don't have anybody in my family who's liberal. Like I'm talking my mom's entire side, my dad's entire side. One person got vaccinated out of like 80 people in my family. So like I am
Yeah.
very blessed, okay? I come from a line of like real badassery here, okay? But that is very
Right.
abnormal. And so like even like my husband's family, they may be conservative, but kind of more in the middle. And so he'll pick his, oh, what do you think about this to his brother? And his brother's going back. And, just, I'm like, no, stop. Don't do that. Like, that is the enemy wanting
Mm.
to divide a family. Like,
Yeah.
stop. As political as I am, I just don't, even though we all agree in my family, I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about it. Like, there's so much more in life. So, like, really, really draw those boundaries. Like, you know what? No, let's not so much, Will, but that would be my main thing. Really like focus on what's happening within your four walls and then the whole love thy neighbor and really focus on maintaining your family
Yeah.
unity.
Well, I love that. I mean, that really, I think, sums up, what we can do, because there are so many things we're not in control of. And when we
Yeah,
try to be in control of things we can't control, that just sets us up to be frustrated. And
exactly.
it's only the
Yeah, you have
ego
to pick and choose.
that has to be right. And so when we fight about little things, or even things that might seem like big issues, there's a time and place for that. And so it's a good idea to set the ego down, and just to be able to love your
Yeah,
family. And so, because and I'll even say in my own family, we've had some people who don't want to associate with others just because of maybe they voted for Trump, so they think they're a horrible person. And so it's like,
yeah,
really, you're gonna like not talk to family because they have a different political stance than you?
yes,
But that's what we have to get away from. And so
yeah. Can I tell people the power
yes,
move really
please.
quick here? And this is like how, okay, here's the power move. You have to, okay, let's say, and this is, we both live in, behind enemy lines here, okay, right? So the power move is seeming unscathed, okay? So for instance, like I have, maybe some family members, maybe on my husband's side, that disagree with my stance because I'm out there, right? And when we see them in person every couple years, I am like, happy, bubbly, what's up? Nothing weird, you would never know. And it's called gray rocking. Ron and I do episodes on this, but like they might have like a little weirdness, but let that be on their end and let their perception of you be like, you are not living rent free in my brain, not even for a second. And even though, of course, you've thought about stuff, right? Of course, they've been in there a little bit, but don't give the illusion that that is the case. It's this power, this confidence, and this control that you will have. If you just shine it on and you be that positive
Yes.
beaming light, that'll drive them crazy. And it's the right way to approach things, because then it can automatically, I guess it can just like the tensions will decrease. And it's almost like the fake it till you
Yeah.
make it type of approach, but you just go into it super light and positive and not like looking for a fight, not like looking for the awkwardness, just gray rock it. And gray rocking, do you use that ever,
I
Will?
never
Gray
heard.
rocking? Ron and I did a whole episode on it. So it's basically where you don't acknowledge the
Okay.
elephant in the room. You act like it doesn't exist and it will
Interesting.
diffuse.
No, I like that approach. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and to just add to
It's
what you said, I
gorgeous.
think be authentic in that. Authentically
Yeah.
just be that person that shines positivity.
You might have to fake it a little bit, especially if there's a really nasty situation, right? Or like maybe nasty things have been said about you
Yeah.
behind your back. But for me, it's like sometimes you do have to shine it on and then it will actually kind of, you'll
Yeah.
embody it. But yeah, I mean, be authentic, yes. But there's some points where you have to just be a
Yeah.
stage actor.
Yeah, maybe because sometimes authenticity might not come out in the best way always.
No, yeah, no, you have to know
Yeah.
your audience, and we're not changing hearts and minds these days, okay? We kind of are
Right.
who we are at this
Yep.
point. So, yeah. So just keep that in mind and you'll live a
Yeah.
freer life.
Awesome. Well, Kristen, it was great having you on, and I really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you and being your friend. So, I mean, just to wrap up, do you
You
want
as
to?
well.
Where do we find you on social media and wherever you'd like to be found?
Yeah. I know I'm like pretty much on every platform at this point. So my main platform is Instagram and it's KSOC. What KSOC? I changed it recently. What am I? I used to be KSOC Uncensored, and then someone told me that sounded risque. So I'm like, let me change KSOC Conservative, but my full name's on there, Kristin Sokoloff. And I also and Will is our guest this week. So I have a podcast that I'm a co-host on, and it's called The Dirty Side of Leadership. And my co-host is Ron Ward, best-selling author and former government head honcho. And so every week we break down the dirtier side of leadership, and then we always give you a roll eight at the end with some how to make things better in your industry or in your life. That would be awesome if you guys could check
Yeah,
that
that's
out.
awesome. Well, I'll link that podcast in the description of this
Thank you.
video. Yeah, grateful to have you on, and excited for our next conversation.
Absolutely. Same here, Will. Thank you
Yeah,
so
until next
much.
time. See ya.
All right. Take care.
I'm Will Carr, and I'm here to fire you up.